One of the most iconic archetypes in Magic is the Affinity archetype, which first emerged in the Mirrex expansion set in 2003. This archetype is characterized by powerful creatures and spells that become cheaper to cast based on the number of artifacts a player controls. The Affinity archetype has a rich history in the game and has had a significant impact on the competitive scene as well as on the design of future sets. The original Affinity cards were so powerful that they quickly dominated the standard format, leading to a series of bans and restrictions like Skullclamp, Arcbound Ravager, Disciple of the Vault, and the Artifact lands. Despite these setbacks, the Affinity archetype remains popular among players who are drawn to its explosive power and ability to overwhelm opponents with a flood of cheap, efficient creatures. And this is what led me to play this deck for today's video. Cards like Skrelv Defector Mite, Reckoner Bankbuster, and Patchwork Automaton have such great synergy with each other and can lead to some really scary board states. If you don't believe this deck is good yet, I'll prove it to you in the upcoming games. To start with an example of how dominant this deck can be, we have a hand of Skrelv, Reckoner Bankbuster, Michiko's Reign of Truth, and we have a lifelinker in Steel Seraph in order to gain a lot of life in the long term and also be a 3/3 in the meantime. We find out we're playing against mono red, and that's a good sight to see for Steel Seraph. We get our Skrelv down and just hope it doesn't die. Our opponent does have the End the Festivities with the Monastery Swiftspear, so they have a really good start. Well, we get down our Reckoner Bankbuster, and the cool thing about this play is we're going to plan to cast Steel Seraph next turn, and then animate the Reckoner Bankbuster, crewing the Steel Seraph to get 4 points of lifelink damage in. I don't want their deck to get out of control with a huge board state though. Annex Sentry is a 1/4, so I think I'm going to cast Annex Sentry instead of Steel Seraph, targeting the Monastery Swiftspear, so this game doesn't get out of control with a few lightning strikes. Our opponent plays their land, fires at Mishra's Foundry, which means their hand probably isn't too good. I block with Annex Sentry on the Mishra's Foundry just to see if they have a play with fire. They don't have it. We draw a second copy of Steel Seraph, so this game is going to get out of control in no time. We do the play where we're going to do on turn 3 to begin with. We target Reckoner Bankbuster with Steel Seraph, choosing lifelink, getting in for 4 damage to Reckoner Bankbuster, and gaining 4 life. They play another Mishra's Foundry. They have the Lightning Strike on our Steel Seraph. But are they going to play around our second copy of Steel Seraph in hand? I don't think Mono Red has the ability to do that. They attack him with 2 creatures. We have our 1/4 to block with. We go to 11 life. We draw a 3rd copy of Steel Seraph. This is going to be good, especially against Mono Red. Steel Seraph comes down. We run it back. The same play we did on turn 4, targeting Reckoner Bankbuster, giving it lifelink, putting them to 12 and going back up to 15 life. Now they have 2 Mishra's Foundries. They fire up one of them, and they attack with the other Mishra's Foundry, but we're not going to fall for the Mishra's Foundry combat trick, so we're going to block the Etching of Kumano this time. They do fire up the Mishra's Foundry, making their other one a 4/4. We knew that was coming. No big deal. We play our Adarkar Wastes that we drew for a turn. We have Michiko's Reign of Truth and Steel Seraph, so get ready for a super powerful turn. We use Michiko's Reign of Truth. Target creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn for each artifact and enchantment you control. Well, we have a lot of artifacts, so that's an 8/8 Steel Seraph coming in with lifelink. Both Steel Seraphs trigger, giving this Steel Seraph lifelink and Reckoner Bankbuster lifelink again. We attack in for the entire team for 13 damage, killing our opponent and going to 23 life against Mono Red. But it wasn't always that easy. We tried different builds of this deck early on, and after getting pounded by Mono Red not once but twice, Bloodthirsty Adversary for lethal, we got pounded by Mono White in a super long game. We also got beat by Mono Black, just getting destroyed by every deck in the book. Even Mono Blue and Blue White Tempo got a piece of the action, killing us, but we missed one crucial part of the deck. How did we forget Reckoner Bankbuster? This whole time losing to all these decks, I didn't have any form of card advantage to keep up with the rest of the meta. I needed Reckoner Bankbuster in the deck. Not only does it synergize with the artifacts, but it also lets us stay in the game long enough, and also Reckoner Bankbuster as a 4/4 vehicle kills them even faster. I don't know how I missed this. It's time to change the deck. We took out Moonsnare prototype, moved some cards around, fit in 4 copies of Reckoner Bankbusters and 3 copies of Ossification, and we're ready to take on the meta again. This time with a brand new build and a brand new game plan against decks like Grixis midrange, Mono Black, and Mono White midrange. This hand is great. We have a proactive game plan. We also have a reactive card in Annex Sentry, so I'm loving this hand. I think about playing out Bankbuster or Patchwork Automaton. I choose the Patchwork because it cannot get cut down since it has Ward 2. I'm speeding this up a little bit because we do have a lot of wins to go through. We cast our Yotian Frontliner, cast our Reckoner Bankbuster, and pass the turn without attacking with Patchwork Automaton since I don't really want to trade it with the Tenacious Underdog. We draw Michiko's Reign of Truth. We're going to play it and target the Frontliner just in case they have another cut down. And they do have it, so we're going to go ahead and play our other Michiko's Reign of Truth. And this is going to target Patchwork Automaton, making it bigger so the Tenacious Underdog can't block it. Let's go ahead and get in for 7 points of damage on turn 4. Let's see what opponent has in store for us. This Patchwork Automaton's pretty annoying since it does have Ward 2. Archfiend of the Dross comes down, but my main goal is to get Archfiend of the Dross to block, because that thing staying on the board is probably trouble for us. We play Annex Sentry out, targeting the Tenacious Underdog, and I want to make sure the Archfiend blocks, so I put the Yotian Frontliner out and make the Patchwork 13 power, being that they were at 13 life. They have to chump block, so we're in a really good spot. They have a cut down for Annex Sentry. They get their Tenacious Underdog back in order to chump block again, but I think I like our position here. Both of our Michiko's Reign of Truths turn into Portrait of Michiko, which are very powerful creatures in themselves. I go ahead and use our land to turn it into a Bankbuster, because I'd like to use the other Bankbuster to draw cards, while this Bankbuster that was a land attacks. Let's go ahead and get in for damage to put the pressure on, 9 points of damage. They go ahead and go for the throw at one of our portraits, but that's okay. Our portrait goes down to a 5/5. They have to chump block. They're at 8, so there's not much they can do besides play a Grixis command. Okay, well that gets rid of our board, gets rid of some of our artifacts and enchantments, so Portrait of Michiko is only a 5/5 after I bring Yotian Frontliner back, so we can't quite kill them, unfortunately. But what we can do is put them to 1 and draw a card with Reckoner Bankbuster to try to play the long game if they stabilize. And they don't stabilize, so we win this game. Before we go to the next game, don't forget to click the subscribe button if you want more content like this. We start the next game with a great looking hand. We have 2 1-drops, a Skrelv to protect our Hotshot Mechanic and Unctus, and we have a removal spell in Ossification. We find out we're probably against Mono Black with a Swamp and a Kiba Reckoner raid. We play a turn 1 Skrelv and hope they can't deal with it. We have a Plains in our hand, so we're going to go ahead and bring out our Hotshot Mechanic because we can't use Ossification anyway, and we do have the Skrelv for protection. Their Nezumi Road Captain enters the battlefield. They play Liliana the Veil. We're not too worried about that since we do have a lot of lands to discard in our hand, and we don't really care if they sacrifice a creature. We draw a Skrelv Hive, which is pretty good later on in the game. We use Mirrex to make blue mana and cast Unctus. This card you haven't seen in the video yet, but it does allow us to get a lot of pseudo card advantage in card selection by making all of our blue artifact creatures draw a card and discard a card when they attack. They play a Soaring the Mirthless and Minus to make a 2/3 lifelink flyer to try to protect their planeswalkers. To my surprise, they discard Invoke Despair with Liliana, thinking we're a tokens deck or something, which they're not really wrong about it. We Ossification the 2/3 flyer to get that out of the way so we can eventually kill them. We also use Skrelv's ability to make the Nezumi Road Captain not block our Unctus, because we really need to get Soaring the Mirthless off the battlefield so their card draw does not get out of control. We play our Skrelv's Hive, kind of expecting another Invoke Despair, and yes, we do see it, and that was one of the reasons we played Ossification on our last turn, so we can sacrifice Ossification with Invoke Despair so we don't have to get rid of our Skrelv's Hive. I choose to get rid of the Skrelv instead of getting rid of the Unctus because I think in the long run, Unctus is going to give us more cards advantage through card selection than what Skrelv can give us. So I keep that. We make our token with Skrelv's Hive. We draw a really good Reckoner Bankbuster off the top with 2 mana to cast it and 2 mana to spare. We go ahead and cast our Reckoner Bankbuster, attack Unctus into Liliana to make them block. They play out their hand because they have a Liliana of the Veil and they want to plus it. They end up playing cut down on our 2/2 Mite, which is super good for us since we're just going to keep making more of these Mites, and I'm happy to get a card out of their hand. We draw a card with Reckoner Bankbuster into another Mirrex, and it looks like our little Skrelv tokens are going to get out of control. We draw another Reckoner Bankbuster, we go ahead and cast it since Liliana is just going to plus again, and we pass the turn. They play another Reckoner Bankbuster, which is a really good draw for them, plus Liliana to draw a card. Use Reckoner Bankbuster to draw a card. They draw a land, so it's all looking up for us for now. We have 2 Reckoner Bankbusters in play, and now you can really see the power of Reckoner Bankbuster in this list, and I still don't know why I wasn't playing it before. We have Skrelv, Defector, Mite in our hand. We play it. We go ahead and crew Reckoner Bankbuster with our 1/1 pilot and attack into Liliana, forcing the block on Cult Conscript to save Liliana, and we get 1 poison damage in with the Mites. One thing about Skrelv's Hive as well is if they have Corrupted, which is 3 poison counters, all of our Mites and creatures with Toxic gain lifelink, so that can go a long way, especially since our opponent has burn damage with their Saga that they have on the battlefield currently, and cards like Invoke Despair. Opponent plays a Tenacious Underdog, and all we do is use Mirrex to make another copy of a 1/1, and we are getting a humongous board. It's going to go to our turn, we make another token, and that's it for the game. We've already played against Mono Red in this video, so I won't go over every play, but you can just see for yourself how powerful this deck can be. We remove our opponent's threats while creating a huge board at the same time. We go back and forth for a while, trading resources, while our opponent tries to find a line to win the game. The life gain in this deck really gives us the advantage against other aggro decks, as sometimes their only way to win is through direct burn damage with Play with Fire and Lightning Strike. Here we can see Skrelv's Hive taking our opponents to school to teach them a lesson or two about mono-red shuffler algorithm. Just as I'm about to send them to detention, we draw Michiko's Reign of Truth to make our lifelink Mite token have 11 power to seal up the game. After we added Reckoner Bankbuster and Ossification to the deck, we went undefeated with this list, so I would highly recommend it to win in Standard. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked the video, and as always, peace.